Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredible science behind radiotherapy. It's a treatment that fights cancer with such amazing precision, it's often called the invisible scalpel.
So, here's the big question, right? How do you attack a tumor that's buried deep inside someone's body without damaging all the healthy, vital stuff that's right next to it? Well, as we're about to see, the answer is this amazing mix of brilliant physics and some really clever biology. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the core problem, that precision challenge. Then we'll check out the amazing machines that get the job done. After that, we'll get into the science of how it all works on a cellular level. And finally, we'll walk through how it all comes together for each and every patient. So let's start with the challenge itself. The goal sounds simple enough. You want to cause the most possible damage to the tumor while causing the least possible harm to everything else. But actually doing that is incredibly tough. If you get it right, you can cure the cancer. But if you get it wrong, well, you could cause some pretty serious problems. You know, every single decision in radiotherapy really boils down to optimizing this one delicate balance. It's called the therapeutic ratio. It's that perfect sweet spot where you have the highest chance of killing the tumor with the lowest possible risk to the patient. Honestly, it's like a tightrope that every radiation oncologist has to walk every single day.
So how do you walk that tightrope? Well, you need some incredible tools. And to hit that perfect therapeutic ratio, engineers have built some seriously sophisticated hardware. Let's start with the real workhorse of modern radiotherapy.
Meet the Linear Accelerator, or LINAC for short. This is the machine behind almost every standard radiation treatment you can think of. And get this, it's a super sophisticated device that costs around 2 million euros and is the absolute backbone of radiation oncology departments all over the world. So how on earth does it work? Well, in a nutshell, it uses powerful microwave energy, kind of like what's in your kitchen, but, way more powerful, to shoot electrons down a tube, accelerating them to nearly the speed of light. These super-fast electrons then slam into a heavy metal target, and that massive collision is what creates the high-energy X-ray beam that we use for treatment.
Okay, but here's the thing. The raw beam coming out of that machine is just a simple shape, like a square. But tumors aren't neat little squares, are they? They're messy, they're complex, they're three-dimensional, and they're often wrapped right around critical organs. So the real magic isn't just making the beam, it's in how we shape it. And the answer is this incredible piece of engineering called a multi-leaf collimator, or MLC. Just picture dozens, sometimes over 100, of these little independent robotic metal leaves. They can move in and out of the beam's path to create almost any shape you can imagine, perfectly conforming the radiation to the tumor's outline and, just as important, blocking it from hitting healthy tissue.
Now, beyond the standard LINAC, you've also got these highly specialized machines. Take the Gamma Knife. It uses 192 tiny little cobalt sources, all aimed at a single point, for unbelievable precision, but it can only treat targets inside the brain. Then you've got the Cyber Knife, which takes a LINAC and mounts it on this super flexible robotic arm. This allows it to track and treat tumors anywhere in the body, even ones that move around when a patient just takes a breath. Okay, so we've seen the hardware, we know the how, but now let's get into the science of the why. How does this invisible beam of energy actually kill cancer cells? This is where we get into the fascinating field of radiobiology.
So at its very core, radiation's main job is to damage the DNA inside cancer cells. Now, it can cause little nicks or single-strand breaks, but the real knockout punch is something called a double-strand break. That's where both sides of the DNA ladder get snapped clean in two. It's an injury that is very, very difficult for a cancer cell to fix, and that's what ultimately leads to its death.
Now, get ready for this, because it's pretty surprising. You'd probably think that the radiation beam just zaps the DNA directly, right? Well, that only accounts for about 10% of the damage. The vast majority of the damage, we're talking 90%, is indirect. What happens is the radiation hits the water molecules inside the cell, which creates these super reactive, destructive little things called free radicals. And it's those free radicals that then go on to attack and break the DNA. Wild, isn't it? And this is exactly why oxygen is an absolute game changer in radiotherapy. See, oxygen makes the damage from those free radicals permanent and way more deadly to the cell. The problem is, tumors often have these cores that are very low in oxygen. We call them hypoxic. And as this quote points out, those low oxygen cells can be up to 3 times more resistant to radiation. So, to deal with challenges like these low oxygen cells, and to really exploit the biology, you can't just hit the tumor with one giant blast.
Instead, the much smarter move is to break up the total dose into many smaller daily treatments spread out over several weeks. This whole strategy is called fractionation, and it is the absolute key to maximizing that therapeutic ratio we talked about earlier.
The real power of fractionation can be explained by 4 key biological principles. They're famously known as the 4 R's of radiotherapy. We've got repair, redistribution, repopulation, and reoxygenation. Each one gives us a strategic advantage against the tumor while helping to protect all the healthy tissue.
So first up is repair. It's pretty simple, actually. In the 24 hours you have between treatments, your healthy cells are just much better at repairing the radiation damage than the cancer cells are. So day after day, the damage builds up in the tumor while your normal tissues keep bouncing back. Next, you've got this 1-2 punch of redistribution and repopulation. See, cells are most vulnerable to radiation during certain parts of their life cycle. Fractionation gives the surviving cancer cells time to move into those more sensitive phases, which makes them easier targets for the next dose. And at the same time, it gives your healthy tissues a chance to regrow and repopulate.
And finally, my personal favorite, reoxygenation. This is just brilliant. As the outer layers of the tumor start to die off, the whole thing shrinks. This allows blood vessels, and more importantly, oxygen, to finally reach that inner core that used to be so resistant. All of a sudden, those newly oxygenated cells become super sensitive to the next dose of radiation. It's an incredible way to turn the tumor's own biology against itself.
So we've got the tech, and we understand the science. Now let's see how this all comes together in a precise, personalized treatment plan. You have to understand, every single patient's treatment is like a custom-built mission, designed from the ground up just for them.
The whole thing follows this really meticulous workflow designed to make sure everything is accurate at every single step. It all starts with a planning scan. Then there's the careful outlining of the tumor and all the critical organs nearby, then the creation of a virtual treatment plan, and finally, the daily, image-guided delivery of the radiation itself.
During the planning stage, the specialists have to choose the right tool for the job. Sometimes that's 3D conformal radiotherapy, which is a super reliable standard for cases like breast cancer. But for more complex tumors, say one that's wrapped around the spinal cord, they'll use a more advanced technique called intensity-modulated radiotherapy, or IMRT. This technique lets them literally paint the dose with incredible precision, creating these complex shapes that can curve right around sensitive organs.
But look, a perfect plan is completely useless if the target has moved, and things do move inside your body from day to day. That's where image-guided radiography, or IGRT, comes in. Right before every single treatment, they take a quick scan, usually a cone beam CT, right there on the treatment machine. It's like a daily GPS check that lets the team see exactly where the tumor is on that particular day, so they can make tiny adjustments and make sure the beam is always perfectly on target.
And this all brings us to a final thought, to the future. We've gone from simple beams to robotic delivery and daily imaging. The next frontier, with incredible machines like the MRI LINAC that can literally watch tumors move in real time, is adaptive radiotherapy. The question isn't just about being precise anymore, it's about being adaptive. So you have to wonder, how close are we to a future where the treatment plan doesn't just stay the same for weeks, but actually evolves with the patient every single day?